Hello, hello, and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Monday, the 31st of August. I hope you are all having a cracking start to the week. And in the news today, we have the A-League final last night, which went into overtime. They've managed to complete a T20 game over there in England. We know who is going to be hosting the final in the Super Rugby AU. We have comfortable wins for the Storm and the Raiders. We have updates from the golf for Lydia Ko, Danny Lee and Ryan Fox, who are all in action this weekend. The NBA basketball has got back going in the Tour de France. Julian Alaphilippe has taken yellow. We have updates from the Formula One, IndyCar and Supercars in motorsport. It is a packed morning. Hi, I'm Paul, and I'll be your main host today. Let's kick off with the motorsport this morning. Let's kick the tyres, and we'll start off with the Belgium Grand Prix, where Hamilton has won his fifth race this season out of 7 races. So obviously taking a commanding lead in the Formula One there, with his teammate Bottas in second. Clearly, the Mercedes cars a step above the rest there. Heading over to IndyCar, and there were 3 races at the weekend in sorry, not the IndyCar, but 3 races. There's 1 race the weekend for IndyCar in the Bomber Top Automotive Group 500. Scott Dixon won that race. That is his 50th career victory. So congratulations to him. And his 51 points from this race means that he's on 386 overall, 117 points clear of Newgarden, who finished down in 12th place. So yeah, everyone is already admitted that over in the IndyCar they are racing for second place. Scott Dixon is looking at winning that tournament. Over in the Supercars, and there were 3 races in the Supercars, not the IndyCar, folks. Scott McLaughlin managed to win the final race in Townsville after Jamie Whincup had won the first 2. That means that Scott McLaughlin has a 123-point championship lead in that one as well. So Kiwis going well in the IndyCar and also the Supercars currently. I'm going to hand you over now to Ashwin, who's going to take us through our cricket update.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to all our viewers and listeners on the interweb. And yeah, it's great to see 2 Kiwis at the top of 2 major motor racing events around the world, Scott Dixon and Scott McLaughlin. But moving on to cricket news, we have a completed match in England, as Paul alluded to in the headlines. Yes, the second T20 between England and Pakistan was actually completed overnight. Pakistan scored a very imposing total of 195 for 4. Babar Azam with 56 and Mohammad Hafiz 69, the top scorers. But it wasn't enough, though, as England got to the target with nearly an over to spare. England scored 199 for 5, with Ian Morgan top scoring with 66 off just 33 balls, and David Milan not out on 54. The third T20 and the final match of Pakistan's tour of England will be played on Tuesday, just a couple of days away. And CPL this morning, it's an incredible match, which, although it might not seem it, went the full 20 overs. The Zook scored a paltry 92 off their 20 overs. Well, actually, they were bowled out after exactly 18 overs. But incredibly, they managed to defend it. The Barbados Tridents restricted to just 89 for 7, batting their full 20 overs. And you'd have to say it's criminal for the Tridents not to have chased down that total, still having 3 wickets left in the shed. And I'll just bring up... There's a match going on right now between St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots and the Guyana Amazon Warriors. And in an update there's the Patriots are 60 for 3 after 11 overs. And we'll bring you more update on that tomorrow morning in the morning sports briefing. And sticking with T20 news, With the T20 version of the IPL, the 2020 version of the IPL only 3 weeks away, the tournament schedule is yet to be finalised. Tournament schedule may have to be dynamic to account for unforeseen circumstances. Over the weekend, several members of the Chennai Super Kings tested positive, including 2 players, which most likely further complicate the situation. And finally, in Channel 7 in Australia are threatening to pull the pin on its $450 million TV deal. James Warburton of Channel 7 says he's never worked with such incompetent people, referring to Cricket Australia. CA refuses to give a discount to Channel 7, despite the Big Bash likely to be missing many stars, affecting viewership for the tournament this year. And that's likely to be at the centre of the issues between Channel 7 and Cricket Australia. And Paul, that's our cricket news for today.
Thank you very much, Ashwin. We're going to hand you over to Stephen, who's going to take us through our birthdays this morning.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning to everybody tuning into New Zealand Sport Radio for what is a new week. In birthdays today, a former black cap who played in New Zealand's golden era, a dual gold medalist at the 2002 Commonwealth Games, and finally an All Black who went on to coach at international level, and that's where we start things this morning. Kieran Crowley, born this day, the 31st of August 1961 in Kaponga, New Zealand, is a New Zealand Rugby Union coach who was previously head coach of the Canadian men's rugby team. He is now the head coach of Italian side Benetton. He is a former member of the New Zealand All Blacks, where he played as a fullback. He was also coached the New Zealand under-19s in the 2007 World Championships, as well as coaching Taranaki. Crowley coached Canada at international level between 2008 and 2016. Moving right along, Nigel Avery, born this day, the 31st of August 1967, is a former weightlifting competitor for New Zealand. He was born in Auckland at the 1998 Commonwealth Games in Kuala Lumpur. He won a bronze medal in the 105 kg snatch and the 105 kg combined total. He went to the 2002 Commonwealth Games in Manchester, where he won not one, but 2 gold medals in the 105 kg clean and jerk and the 105 kg combined total, and gained a silver medal in the 105 kg snatch. He was the closing ceremony flag bearer for New Zealand. And finally, Willie Watson, born this day, the 31st of August 1965 in Auckland, is a former international cricketer. He played 15 tests and 61 one-day internationals for New Zealand. Willie Watson was relatively a successful medium fast bowler for New Zealand. One of many who struggled to cement a place in the team during the golden years of the New Zealand cricket, and that was through the 80s. I think he was more geared towards the late 80s, was Willie Watson. I don't know if I'd describe him as fast medium, more medium pace, who could bowl medium to fast. What do you reckon, Ashwin? He's gone.
Ashwin's had to jump off and go make sandwiches because it's obviously back to school in Auckland, and so he's having to make sandwiches for the kids. So yes, unfortunately, we've lost Ashwin, but I'm sure they'll be covering that on the Swinging from the Hip on Thursday evening. We can ask them that question at 8 p.m. Moving on then to the golf, and in the Walmart NW Arkansas Championship, Lydia Ko has recovered. Remember, she was down in around 100th place at one point, but she's climbed back up to tied 34th on that one after the third round. Over in the BMW Championship, and round 4 is live currently, and Danny Lee has also recovered a bit. He's now in tied 36th in that one. Having been struggling in this championship after a couple of good tournaments recently. Finally, in the UK Championship, and Ryan Fox over there, look, he was as high as 4th at one point in this tournament. Has finished up at 28th overall. That one has now finished now. Sort of slipped back in the field there by Ryan after a very good start to that championship. Good luck to him on the next European Tour golf tournament that he takes part in. We're now going to hand you over to Stephen for the sports that just keeps on giving. it's our NRL update.
Thanks again, Paul. In league news this morning, comfortable wins for the Melbourne Storm and the Canberra Raiders. We check on the NRL table and we have a quick look at the Betfred Super League, where there's a game in progress at this time. But we look at our first game from yesterday's round, which happened to be the Storm v the Sea Eagles, and it was the Melbourne Storm too strong for the Manly Sea Eagles, winning by 30 points to 6 after leading by 14 points to 6 at half time. It was a 6-1 victory, and Justin Olam, the centre for the Melbourne Storm, picked up 3 tries, scoring in the 11th, 47th and the 64th minute, and Josh Adokar picked up a try either side of half time, picking up a try with a minute to go and sealing the deal for the Storm. Nelson Asofo Solomona scored in the 25th minute of the first half for the rest of the tries for Melbourne Storm. Of course, Cameron Smith returning to the Melbourne Storm side, adding the extras via the boot. For the Sea Eagles, well, they just had the lone try to Adam Funua-Blake in the 14th minute, converted by Ruben Garrick for their 6 points. That final score again, Melbourne Storm 30, the Manly Sea Eagles 6. And in our second and final game of round 16 in the NRL, the Canberra Raiders had to come back and beat the Bulldogs by 34 points to 20 after being down by 20 points to 12 at a half time, courtesy of a Jack Whiten double. Now, Whiten scored in the 48th and the 54th minute, grabbing a double. The rest of those try scores are coming from Joseph Tapine and Tom Sterling, who scored relatively early. The rest of the points coming from Hudson Young and Tom Starling, who scored right on the 70th minute. The rest of those points coming via the boot of Jared Croker, who had a strong game. All the points for the Bulldogs, well, they finished the half very, very well. They scored in the opening 10 minutes. Zelian Watani Zelniak scored a try. Then we had Raymond Faitala Mariner score a try on the 29th, and Rod on the 35th minute. So all their points coming in the first half. Josh Jackson in the 35th minute, and a very good try from Kerrod Holland, where he kicked ahead, toted ahead, and won the race to the touchdown. Nick Meaney providing the extras with the conversions. Unfortunately for the Bulldogs, it was a case of a whole lot of unanswered points in the second half. That final score again, the Raiders 34, the Bulldogs 20. As we head off to look at the table once again, the Panthers on fire, stringing together 8 in a row in the NRL this year, and looking the team to beat. If you look at them at the top of the table, having played 16, won 14, drawn 1, and only lost the one game. Looking at the rest of the table, the Storm in second place, the Eels, the Roosters, the Raiders, Rabbitohs, Knights and Sharks make up the top 8. And, of course, the Warriors are really, really battling it out over there, and they've given themselves an outside chance, but they are 2 wins outside the 8 with 4 rounds to go. So they really need to win all 4 games, and they need a lot of results to go their way. Just looking at some of the teams that are ahead of them that they will play, they are set to also play the Sharks and also the Eels. The Eels will be hurting as well after getting well and truly thumped in Thursday night's game against the Rabbitohs 38-0. I won't go through all the scores this week, but I will have a quick look at the Betfred Super League results from the weekend. Wigan, this is the Super League in the UK. Wigan 33. Wigan, beg your pardon, we'll start again. Wigan 30, Castleford 22, Leeds 50, Salford 12. In games that played overnight, St Helens at 32, Hull Kingston Rovers 18, Hull Football Club at 31, Ordersfield at 12, and in a game happening at the moment, only a couple of minutes left, but it's Warrington leading Wakefield Trinity by 30 points to 0. Just a reminder that you can catch up with all the league news on Wednesday evening with Brad and Sanjay on the standoff. That's 8 p.m. on New Zealand Sport Radio. That's it from me. Exit stage left. I'm out of here. Catch you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for that, for the NRL update. Moving on then to the football, and we had the final of the A-League last night between Sydney FC and Melbourne City FC. They could not be separated during regular time, and it went into extra time. Now they call it football, but this was one by the chest. Yes, Ryan Grant chested in a wonderful cross to score the winning goal in that one. Sydney FC won 1-0 to claim their fifth A-League championship. So congratulations to Perth FC for that one. Moving down into the rugby then, and over the weekend, the Waratahs gave themselves hope of reaching the finals by beating the Rebels 38-32. That was after, on Friday evening, the Brumbies booked themselves a home final by beating the Force 31-14. One more round of the Super Rugby AU to take place. There's 2 games, and they'll take place on Saturday. And we've got a bit of Super Saturday of rugby coming up next weekend, because we'll kick off with a Super Rugby AU game, followed by the North-South game, and then another Super Rugby AU game. So 3 games back-to-back next Saturday. It should be a cracking day of rugby. Don't forget to join us this evening for the Driving Maul Show at 8 p.m. here on New Zealand Sports Radio, where we'll be giving you your weekly fix of rugby. Looking at the Guinness Pro 14, and over there, Munster comfortably beat Connacht, and Cardiff beat Ospreys. What that means now is that Munster have made their way into the finals. The only other team that Scarlets could have got there with their win over Cardiff earlier in the they win over Dragons the previous day. But the playoffs now, or the semi-finals, will now be Leinster versus Munster, an absolute cracker, classic game there, and Edinburgh versus Ulster. So 1 Scottish team and 3 Irish teams through to the semi-finals. There is one more game happening at the moment between Zebre and Treviso. The 2 Italian sides currently, it's 6-13. Zebre 6, Treviso 13 in that one. Also, we had Premiership action as well. I remember now this team, in the Gallagher Premiership, they're playing midweek and weekend games. And quick look at the results from last night. So the Quins beat Saints 30-17. Exeter beat Worcester 59-7. And Gloucester beat Leicester 46-30. So 3 home wins there after Sharks had got a big win over Bristol 40-7. That was second versus, that sees Sharks climb above Bristol in second. So yes, a big win there for 2 teams that are at the very top of the table and looking at making the finals series. Moving on then to the basketball, and wins for the Milwaukee Bucks and the LA Lakers yesterday saw them both proceed to the championship semi-finals with 4-1 victories. The other game yesterday was the Rockets, who beat the Thunder convincingly to take the lead 3-2 in that first round series. So the Rockets in position there. They see one more win to go through. The Thunder need to win the next 2 games to progress. And yes, it was a comfortable win for the Rockets yesterday, 80-114, absolute thrashing there. Currently, as we talk, the Celtics are playing the Raptors, leading them 84-65. Now, just to get nice and confusing, they have started their conference semi-final before all the teams have progressed from or finished their first round games. So we've got games happening in the first round and the second round of the finals now to make that nice and confusing. We'll also have the Clippers versus the Mavericks. That should start in 10 minutes. And then at 12:30, the Nuggets v. the Jazz. Both of those are Western Conference games still in the first round. If the Clippers win, they'll go through. Dallas needs to win the next 2 games in that series. And if the If Utah win, they'll go through. Denver need to win. The Nuggets need to win 2 games in their series. In the cycling, then, congratulations to Julian Alaphilippe, who won stage 2 and took over the yellow jersey. A much more hilly stage in stage 2, so Christophe was not expected to be able to hold on to that yellow jersey. He's a sprinter rather than a climber. Julian Alaphilippe unlikely to take the win all the way through to the finish in Paris in 3 weeks' time. He is more of what I call a puncher, not a true climber. So he'll enjoy his time in yellow, especially after falling yesterday. Like most of nearly half the peloton seemed to fall yesterday in the day before in the rain, in stage 1 in the rain. So be happy with that stage 2 win. You have now started the day the best way, up to speed with all of the important sports news. Don't forget that you can listen to us on the go. Just download the New Zealand Sports Radio podcast on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Acast, or your favourite pod catcher. Have a wonderful day, folks. We'll be back again with the morning sports briefing at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.